dry cleaning space, and we are based out of Chennai. So, as I told earlier, our guest for today is Mr. Suhail Sattar. Welcome, Suhail, sir. Thanks for coming. And I'll also take this time to introduce Mr. Anand, the founder and CEO of Exclusive Technologies. Hi, Anand. How are you?
Hi, Bala. Hi, Suhail, sir.
Hi, Anand.
Helping us out in the controls is Vinay. Hi, Vinay. Thanks for putting this through.
Yeah, hi.
So we'll get on. I think there's some audibility issue. Mr. Munish Mittal is saying he's not able to hear anything. Munish, you're able to hear our voice? All the panelists can hear me well?
I can hear you.
Okay, so just let's have a quick, a round of participation. Who all in the attendees who can hear me, you can type in a quick yes on the chat box so that we all know that we can hear you. A yes on the chat box, please. Yes, I can start seeing the yes. So thank you for your participation. So I understand that most of you who have logged in are from the apparel industry and who are related to fashion or having a businesses related to apparel and fashion. So let's make this, what do you call the webinar, a very interactive one. The advantage of doing it online rather than doing it offline is that you can all put in your questions and we can make it very interactive and very beneficial for you guys. So let's start off this webinar with a small introduction which Suhail sir will give about himself. I request him to take us through the journey. Of course, we all know that it's a self-made brand. It's built in a generation. We know how difficult it is to build a brand in one generation. So I would like him to talk a bit about the journey, and then we'll get into the next segment. We'll get into questions which I have for him on the apparel industry. Then last 20 minutes, we'll open it up for questions from the audience. So please feel free to keep putting your questions on the chat box. We will collate it and ask Mr. Suhail that as well. Over to you, Suhail, sir. Can you tell us a little bit about Basics and your journey as a fashion entrepreneur?
So yes, we are celebrating 30 years this year. Basics is our brand. Hasbro is the company. Hasbro is basically Hanif and Suhail brothers. We're two of us who founded the company together. We've started with two sewing machines from 33 odd years back, and we started off as job workers for exporters. Our uncles were exporters, and we started the business off. And subsequently, from export job working, we went to local job working for local retail stores, and that's when Hanif and me, both of us, always had a passion for one is good fashionable clothes, and two is for direct personal connect. So we had a lot of friends. We were young ourselves. I was 14 at that time. Hanif was 17 when we started. And by the time I finished school, my 12th standard, which is I think around 17 years old, it dawned upon us that we were manufacturing good clothes, but we did not have any access to consumer. So I'll circle back to that a little bit on why exclusive is important as well, because if you're running a B2B business, it's very difficult in today's day and age because of the fact that you don't have access to margin, and that is access to margin or premium, and then you don't have access to some stability as well. So very early on, we recognized that, of course, not in these words. I can articulate it well today, but at that time, it always used to be, I don't know who the end consumer is, why don't we open a retail store? And so we opened a small retail store, 200 square feet, in a small suburb of Chennai called Egmore, in a small shopping complex called Prince Plaza. In the basement, we opened 200 square feet, and we were a store by youngsters, for the youngsters, made of young fashion, So very quickly we caught on, and young people started coming. They were customers, they were friends. You'll see them out at a movie theater on a Saturday night. You'll see them out at a restaurant. You'll recognize them. You'll speak to them, and you'll go for their wedding functions. So very soon it became a social community for us. And from there we launched. So when we launched initially, this is 32 years back, we launched a brand called Genesis, which is our formal wear brand. So, and in the next 2 years, we launched our casual wear brand, which is Basics, which is the logo you see behind me. Basics, of course, got seen faster because, the youth and the language of the youth is basics, is casual. And we launched quickly, and one store led to another, and we went into wholesale, we went into retail, we expanded our portfolio, and today we're at 120 retail stores, 120 plus, and over 1,000 other points of sale. So I've shortened the journey because I don't want to make this very long, but that's where we were, and that's who we are today.
Awesome. Wonderful, sir. I think you made it short and crisp, but I think a lot of people here are from the apparel industry who are distributors, who are manufacturers, right? So what is, we are now facing a situation which is unprecedented in terms of COVID, and we would like to understand your thoughts on what we are exactly going through as apparel industry. Our shops are not open because it's not essential services, and there is a lot of inventory that is lying. There is salaries to be paid. There is rents to be paid. So how do you think businesses in the apparel industry should handle this situation?
So the truth is, see, there's one is, of course, what the government is doing, and the fact is that we can't influence what the government is doing at the national level. It's not just our industry, electronics, jewelry, everything is shut. But I think there will be a time when the stores will start opening, and it's very important for us to be ready for that, right? We have to set our context on how we are going to open, when we're going to open, are we ready for being open? So one is, of course, have we established contact with all our staff and ensure that our staff has not gone away and that they're ready. One second is that, see, for example, with RAI, Retailers Association of India, they have established a SOP on how to run a store, right, post-COVID. So are we working on those SOPs? Are we buying hand sanitizers? Are we getting masks for all our staff? So I think that those are boxes you have to check first, right, to ensure that to ensure that we don't fail in terms of safety and the needs of the authorities. That's point number one. Point number two is, I think the time for collaboration with your brands has come. And see, I've been going through the exclusive platform, for example, and I'm thinking that today, how many of us retailers, you retailers, me included, are we collaborating with the ecosystem to ensure that when the consumer comes back, right, the consumer gets value? And what is the definition of value, right? How many of the retailers here, I'd like them to raise a hand or put a yes, saying that how many of them already work with a good loyalty program and have a loyalty program to reach out to their consumers post-COVID? How many of them already have a loyalty program? And if you don't have a loyalty program, why don't you have one, right? Because now, if you have to communicate with all your customers saying, listen, we're open, how are you going to do that, right? So that's point number one. I can go on, I can expand this question. I'll tell you what I feel also is that how many of you are going to communicate an offer that is beneficial to the consumer? When you're sending a message to your consumer, for example, you're running a promo in your stores. If you have Basics in your stores, Basics has a promo running. How many of you are sending message on your loyalty program about the offers that you're running in your store to bring your consumer back, right? How many of you are doing collaborations with your brands, right, and communicating that to your consumers? You have to think about all that, because remember, everybody is going to go after these consumers, but there is going to be pent-up demand. And if we can sit here and make our offering stronger to the end consumer, business will come back.
Sure. I was actually, I have a question on coming back to technology, but I think I would like to set the context for the audience in terms of specifically questions on handling issues with the sector in apparel itself. So do you think consumption will go up? Do you think it will come down? Do you think, apparel, which segment should they play in? Should it be value? Should it be premium? Should it be luxury? So we want your thoughts around that so that it will benefit the audience who are logged
So I don't think anybody can change the segment they already are in. Most of these retailers, most of us retailers already have inventory lying in our stores, and our segment is pretty much decided for us, right? What we need to ensure is that one, we inspire trust and confidence in the consumer who walks into our store saying this is a COVID-free environment. That's point number one. And second, that the consumer will get value when he walks into our store. And see, there's a difference between value and cheap. I always say that. We don't need to ensure that we give cheap products. We need to ensure that we give value to the consumer.
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can hear.
My question on how do you see apparel being affected, sir? The sector being affected?
I think that apparel will not be as affected as a lot of other segments, because what happens here is, if you look at apparel, the ticket sizes are much lower. Maybe consumer durables, maybe high ticket items, big ticket items, maybe automobiles, maybe TVs, laptops. Higher ticket items might get affected faster. Apparel is, in my opinion, after food and essentials, food and essentials don't get affected at all, right? Even something like a restaurant might get affected before apparel gets, because don't forget that apparel is for personal consumption, and when you're out, you want to dress. People will want to spend some money, want to feel good. You might not want to go sit in a restaurant because you're sitting in a particular place for 4 hours or 3 hours. You're being served by somebody. Apparel, you buy apparel, you take it back home, you can wash it, sanitize it, and wear it, and then it's safe. So I think apparel consumption will come back, right? I don't know in what form, but I think that if there's a chance for any business to bounce back quicker, I think apparel has a very high likelihood of bouncing back quicker. So I think I'd want to put hope in all of us, saying that remember that if we can just establish social distancing and all our necessary boxes that we need to check, if we can ensure that, I want you to know that apparel has a high likelihood of bouncing back quicker than all the other industries where the ticket sizes are higher.
Got it. So that's a clear answer, audience, on what is the future for apparel industry post-COVID. But again, secondly, I would like to get into many of the people who have logged in here have their own store. It could range from anywhere between 500 square feet to 2,000, 3,000 square feet. What is the change in the store, layout or design or best practices at the store level, you think, which will help them actually counter or probably minimize the risk of COVID transmission at their store? So what is a retail, I would say, COVID-ready store in fashion look like?
So I think all of us have to reduce overstocking in our stores, first of all, right? You have to give space for navigation, right? You have to give space for people to maybe establish a 6 feet from each other, the space that is required for us to shop in an environment like that. And reducing inventory is not a bad thing. I think we need to improve our display techniques, right? Be more sensible in the inventory that we buy. So most stores today are carrying 90 days, 120 days, 150 days stock. Maybe we can reduce that. Improve our merchandising techniques, improve our buying, improve display, reduce the amount of time it takes for a customer to discover in your stores, right? Walk into a lifestyle, walk into a shopper stop, see how much more of the apparel they keep hung vis-a-vis they keep stacked. Increase hanging so that it's easier for the customer to access a product without asking for help, and it's easier for a customer to identify a product. If he's across the store, if you're an 800 square feet store, if he's standing here and he can see something across the store, on the other end of the store, if it's hung and if it's displayed, it's easier for him to identify it. Because one, of course, it improves the romance of retail, and retail is romance, right? Otherwise, you can easily buy online. Retail is romance. The romance of shopping, going to a store, seeing beautiful products. So if we can improve our display to display more of what we are showing and not stock more of what we are showing, I think it'll help us on both ends. One, of course, it'll help us by reducing our investment on inventory. Second is it'll make for a better shopping experience for the retailer and hence for the customer, and improve, right, the possibility of a consumer indulging in your apparel.
So I think very clear. increase social distancing within your store by reducing inventory and reducing the
So you're making it safe for the consumer,
Yeah.
and you're reducing your capex costs, or your investments as well, right?
Absolutely. And this, of course, for the benefit of attendees, I think this, apart from this, you follow your standard norms of, ensuring your employees are checked, check their temperature regularly, check the temperature of people, customers who are coming in. That's no longer going to be offensive from now. And also ensure that your employees wear gloves and, masks and all that. So that's all adequately stocked up, and also enough stock of sanitizers. So this would make ready, an apparel store post-COVID. But there's an interesting point that F&B industry is thrown up, right? So we hear about Zomato and other guys talking about contactless restaurants. So they're doing away with the plates, they're doing away with the menus, they're doing away with payment, for you to touch the HDFC or any other bank, card machine. So in terms of technology, what are the technology that's available now which can actually in a fashion store make it more easier for the customer to ensure during post-COVID? And also, I would like to take the question forward and ask you that many of the retailers here would want to do digital as well, because we have now seen the disadvantages not being digital, and I think now is the time to go digital. CRM is something we spoke about, which we'll elaborate a little bit more in detail and bring on and then. But before that, how do we enable commerce online? So the technology part, how can we handle, sir?
Also, the truth is that digital is not just e-commerce. I think first we have to let people know that it's not just e-commerce. If you're not ready to do e-commerce, if you're an MBO, if you're an 800 square feet MBO, if you're 600 square feet MBO, right? First of all, do your listing. Can a customer search for you on Google Maps? How many of you have a proper Google Maps? Second is, don't necessarily enable e-commerce, no, enable discovery. So if you have a store called Suhail's MBO in a suburb of Chennai somewhere, and if you want to send a link to a customer to your website, a catalog site, just a basic catalog site, but what the latest varieties are in your store. Now, what do you need to do for that? You need to go contact the brand who sent you a latest consignment and say, send me the pictures of all the products you sent. Right? Take those pictures, upload it on a basic catalog site, take the link, send it to your customer through your CRM program and say, hey, Bala, take a look at our new arrivals. It's a very basic thing, it's a little bit of effort, but what happens here is that you're enabling, the whole thing about e-commerce right now is that most retailers are saying, I have a store, I have my store overheads. Okay, what is the point of me enabling e-commerce because I'm an offline retailer? And I completely agree. E-commerce is different from offline retail. Offline retail, like I said, is romance, right? And you're giving a beautiful environment. So I'm saying, how many of us have just invested in a basic catalog site? Just a catalog site. Don't enable e-commerce. Don't let the customer buy. But at least take up the pictures of the products you have in your store, put it up and say, hey, come and discover all this in my store. How many of them are doing that? Nobody's doing that. You don't need to go the entire distance. You don't need to say this side or that side. You don't need to say ispar or uspar. You don't need to say 100% or 0%. You can do 5%. You can do 10%. How many of us have a Facebook page where we can put our new arrivals? Contact all your brands, get their latest campaign, put it up on your Facebook page, spend some money on Facebook, spend some money on Instagram. Let consumers know what your new arrivals are. How many of you are sending an SMS with a link to a landing page on your website saying, hey, check out our new arrivals? You can do small things. You can take baby steps, but you need to take those steps and not look at digital. See, digital is here to stay. It won't go away. If you close our eyes and shut our ears, it doesn't mean digital doesn't exist. But it doesn't mean that if you're an offline retailer, you're dead. I don't think so. Right? There are so many people who still want to go to a store and shop. Right? Make it easier for them to shop. Make it easier for them to know what's available in your store. Identify it. Right? Another way you can use digital. Post every transaction. Send an SMS to your customers with a survey form saying, sir, did you enjoy yourself? Did you like the variety? Did the salesman serve you well? Was the AC, was the air conditioning working well? Did you like everything in that store? What complaints do you have? Do you want somebody to reach out to you? reach out. Small survey form, a small bit.ly link, send it to your transaction, send it to the customer, customer clicks on the bit.ly link, reaches out to you, even if you're not in the store, So these are small things, but you need to do those things today to ensure that you have a grip on your business. And digital makes these things so much easier. I can expand on this, of course, but I think Anand has a whole suite of products that he can go ahead and expand. But you can use digital, and you can use digital for offline retail, for discovery. You can use it to drive traffic into your stores, bring consumers back to your stores, right? Re-establish the romance of retail in your consumer's mind.
Yeah, I think that's a good thought on digital and technology. So at this point, I think it will be relevant to bring Anand in. Anand, I think whatever Suhail sir had mentioned in terms of, contactless retail, right? Establishing contact through SMSs and email with customers, then having, bill copies sent through SMS rather than through a bit.ly link rather than a physical copy. All the ways to avoid, possible transmission in the future, right? Can you share with us? Of course, many of the attendees are already on, exclusive. For the benefit of people who are not on exclusive, can you share with us what you have in store in exclusive, so that then we will go through that and again come back to Suhail sir on further questions.
Okay, sure, Bala. So let me just take over from here. Let me just share a PPT here. Right. So use of technology, right? So what we see going forward is that. I've just listed out a couple of points here. Like, I don't want to go through all the 20, 40 features of the CRM features and all that, how it's going to, but I feel these are the points which are going to be key, or if it is used in the retail environment, it actually develops a better understanding with the customer, and long term it serves you better, right? So one of them is start creating some prepaid offers right now to generate cash flows, right? So this is something every retailer has started doing it. Even Brand Factory, right? Yesterday I've received an communication from them saying that, hey, you know what, you purchased for 6,000, but you lock your purchase today at 3,000, and once the shop opens up, you can come and purchase for 6,000. So during the downtime, this is the way of making cash before the shop opens up, right? So ensuring the customers also walk in. The second point is, as Suhail sir pointed out, start using e-bills, right? Instead of printed copy of bills, which is again a touch interface, right? The cashier has to touch it and then give it to the consumer. So instead of doing it, you can start doing the integration. Doesn't matter which billing interface you're using. Integration can be done to the CRM, and then you can start generating a e-bill copy and tell the customer, you know what, we don't use printed copies right now because of Covid-19 situation. We have moved on to an e-bill. The customers will love it because this is something which will be with them for quite some time, right? So that is second. Third, I would say identify high value customers or high frequency customers, right? So this is something which we have been helping through the CRM for a couple of our customers, right? They've been able to identify, since we've been tracking their purchase history for the last 2 years, 3 years for some of our customers, right? You can just go to the CRM panel and filter out your customers either by high value customers because they make a big difference, or by high frequency of customers, right? And since most of I would say most of the staff are sitting at home but still getting paid, whether it's getting paid 50% of your salary or 70% salary, right? They're still getting paid. They're sitting at home without any work, right? So this list has been provided to these guys on a personal basis through a sales application, so the numbers are not also visible. And these guys are making call on a personal basis on a day-to-day basis. They're making call. This is more of a generalized call. We're just inquiring about the health and also saying that, you know what, we as a store have taken certain measures to ensure hygiene when the shop opens up, right? So this is one way of getting in touch with the customers even during this time, right? So with the use of technology, you can identify your high value or your high frequency customers. The fourth one which I've got point is, after every visit, right, start sending a feedback for hygiene rating, right? The customer, once the lockdown gets over, customer walks in, you're not at the shop all the time, right? So maybe you just walked out, maybe you're having a couple of branches, right? So you cannot be at the store all the time. But something happened with one of the customers and he just didn't feel good about it. So you need to make sure that you change or take feedback and change things at your store level very quickly. So I would request or I would advise to start getting feedback for hygiene rating right after every walk-in, right? After the billing happens, ensure that you send a feedback link along with the billing e-bill copy and get this feedback done, right? So you can make the changes quite faster. Then, I mean, this is again pointed out by Suhail Sattar. Create a high value loyalty program, which is not like regular one. And there is a feature wherein you can actually give them bonus points, which will expire within 15 days or 30 days after the first purchase. Because generally what we've seen in apparel, if a customer walks in for a certain purchase, right, the next purchase happens after 2 months or 3 months, right? So in this case, you can actually throw in a small gamut saying that, hey, this is your regular loyalty points, and top of it, now what, you can take this extra bonus points, where these points will expire within the next 30 days. So kindly walk back if in case you want to make avail of this extra bonus points. So this will also ensure a couple of more re-walk-ins to happen, right? The sixth point which I've got here is start talking to your customers, right, through your normal campaigns through SMS and your social media about the hygiene methods that you are going to follow. The SOPs, I think, as Suhail sir pointed out, there are a couple of SOPs for the apparel industry. We can take these SOPs and we can WhatsApp it to you guys what these SOPs are, and start talking back to your customers saying that, you know what, we have taken these steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in order to ensure hygiene when you walk in, right? We are maintaining social distancing. We're not letting more than 5 people to be at the store at any point of time. So these are the kind of messages which can float. It can be in the form of image. It can also be in the form of video. So, I mean, social media campaigns, having a presence on Facebook or Instagram. If you're not there right now, start making sure that you start having a presence and start connecting to your customers through these mediums also, right? The seventh point that I've got here is start having an online presence, right? So some of you might be small and thinking like, why should I have a online presence? I think it's time. I think COVID-19 is going to be. It's not something which is going to go out of the box all of a sudden, right? We know that it's going to have a presence for a longer term until we have a vaccination in place, right? So it's not going to be a 1 month, but it's going to take 5 to 6 months by the time we actually get to a period where it slowly wipes out completely. So I would say, as a precautionary measure, start having an online presence and having a link to an omni-channel, right? So our CRM can help you having a omni-channel presence where the connection can happen. Doesn't matter the customers coming online or offline. You will still be able to track each and every visit of the customer, right? So these are some points which I've got here, right? So anything else? I will be able to answer on if you have any questions.
No, I have just one question of you.
Yeah.
Now, for an MBO retailer,
okay,
when they are communicating offers to their customers,
okay,
usually just text.
Yeah.
In your application, do you have the ability to take the text with the bit.ly link and take them to an offer page where they can see the visual of the offer?
Yeah, it can be done, sir.
Right? So, for example, they have 6 brands in their stores and they say, check out all my offers. And you make a page for them where they take visuals of all their offers from that brands and they put it up there, and the customer can see, right, on the microsite, what are all the offers available. Right? Basics has something, Van Heusen has something, Louis Philippe has something, Levi's has something, and they can see all those offers. It makes it attractive. So if you're going to make a microsite for them where there's product available and offer available, in the customer's phone, there are more reasons for the customer to get into his car or bike and come to the store. Create more reasons to come to your store.
Okay.
And to consume the offer.
So just to add up to what you just said, sir. So we have when you create an offer on the exclusive CRM platform, right? You can actually upload your images as well while selling it. It automatically creates a bit.ly and sends the communication across, right? We also have a module called an e-page. It's just, I'd say it's not an online website or something, but it's just a landing page of your brand, where every time you launch an offer, it also goes and sits on the e-page, right, with all your offers and images. So it keeps building up like a catalog, right? So it can be done. I mean, if the same e-page can be promoted on Facebook, so people just not taking a look can also come to the e-page and take a look at all that you've got.
You should make a small template for your customers, Anand, where they can just upload all the visuals of their latest products. Just put a small filter on the side. I don't know what your commercials are going to be, but you should give them the offer saying, xnbo.com, right? A small catalog template where they can put up all their products. They can go to the brand and say, give me the visuals, make it easier, give them a small CMS platform, let them upload it. Just simplify the whole thing, for them.
Got it. Fine, sir. This is something we already have. So we will actually send out a presentation right after this, how this can be done. And in fact, they don't even have to use a web platform. We have this ability to do it on the Android mobile itself, wherein they can upload the images catalog from the mobile Android application, and it gets launched onto the e-page.
And in case they need a payment solution attached, you'll be able to help them?
Yeah, we'll be able to help them. Yeah.
Okay, that's exactly what is needed for retailers now. I think between Suhail sir and Anand answered all the questions on technology, how we can use technology, digital, and also how exclusive platform can be helpful for you guys. So that's something that's very relevant at this moment, because that's a jump we all retailers have to do, right? There's no option. So any questions, Anand will leave behind his number and email ID here on the chat window. You are free to get in touch with him directly. So coming back to our post-retail, post-COVID scenario for retail. So there are some questions which are coming, which are very practical from the audience. Like one of them has asked, Mr. Pandian has asked a question: how to avoid trials in the store? Because the more trials, the more contacts. So how do they avoid trial rooms?
So I think you should tell your customer that you take the garment and go home, wear it, and if it's not up to your liking, you can come back and exchange it.
So essentially try and minimize trial to the maximum possible.
Yes, I think because once a customer has tried a garment, I think then you cannot sell it again. So for example, if you're selling 25, 30, 50 garments in a day in your store, and if 50 people are going to try it on, and out of that, say 30 people use it, and 30 people don't use it, 20 people don't, 30 people use it, you can't use those 30 garments again. So let them buy it, let them take it home and go. And once they've taken it home, if it doesn't fit them, maybe increase the period of exchange. Maybe 15 days, maybe 25 days. And say, sir, up to 25 days you come back, we'll exchange the garment for you. Take that back, then sanitize it, and then put it back. But it'll reduce the amount of trial in your stores and not do trial for now.
There's one more question which is coming pertaining to stocks. So as you know, apparel industry is a fashion related industry. So whatever is the current season, what do we do? Should we sell it at low price? Should we discount it? Should we, what is to be done? Because they're all...
See, I've been speaking on a national forum with all the brands in the country. The one thing we have to understand here is I think there's a new paradigm shift that, we all understand that except for maybe a few pockets like a Nainital where it snows or something, India is actually a hot country. So the spring, summer, autumn, winter, instead of doing spring, summer, autumn, winter, we can do 12 seasons in a year. We can keep bringing freshness, right? Buy in smaller pockets, buy more regularly, and not necessarily do an EOSS, because what you're going to sell in spring, summer is not very different from what you're going to sell in autumn, winter, right? If the dependence on EOSS and sale comes down, then I think we can all increase the value we give to the consumer, right? And make the whole product, the value proposition of the product better. So this freshness, what is freshness? If I buy a garment today, I wear it at least for 1.5 years, no? So you're saying that something I bought in spring, summer 19, I will not wear in autumn, winter 19, or I will not wear in spring, summer 20? Not necessarily true. So I think that this has woken us all up saying that blindly following the West, and the West, see, America and the UK has clearly defined weather. They have spring, they have summer, then they have autumn, and then they have winter. Here we only have hot, hotter, and hottest. So I don't think that we need to do USS and sale. And I don't think it'll help consumption, and I think it'll only hurt our margins for all of us, and it'll only make it more difficult for us to get back to normal.
So are you saying that the big brands are looking at rechanging their whole buying strategy?
Yeah, I think we should, and I think we all are. Make it more regular seasons.
So that's a very important point for MBO owners, for retail store owners who are in fashion to take. Even the big brands are looking at resizing their buying plan, relooking at their buying strategy to go in for smaller lots and have lower inventory,
and reduce waste. Basically, reduce waste.
Absolutely. So I think that's something that
waste of effort, waste of capital, waste of margin.
So waste. I think that's good. That's an important input for you guys who are looking at inventory as a major cost for concern. So we have a question from Ajay. So he says, sir, how about the rents for the showrooms? Will the landowners and mall managements honor force majeure? So that's something I think we have been discussing at the national level. I'll leave Suhail sir to give his thoughts on what we should do for rental.
So if it's a high street store, in my opinion, you have a great relationship with your landlord. You need to go and tell him, listen, you need to support me now, right? You need to support me. I'm out of cash right now. I can't pay, right? And then, of course, don't forget that the landlord has your deposit lying with him as it is, right? Push comes to shove, you can always say you deducted from my deposit. But if you can't pay, you can't pay, right? And that's the way it is. As far as mall owners go, I think the approach is the same, that you have to decide that you don't play bluff. Are you ready to shut shop? Are you ready to leave? If you are, then you go and tell them, listen, I cannot pay. I can only pay a percentage of revenue. I can only pay a percentage of my sales, and I can't do beyond that. Failing which? Because see, this is not about taking advantage of the situation, right? If you can afford to pay the rent, if money is not a challenge for you, then pay the rent, right? But if you can't afford it, you just communicate that, saying, I can't afford it, my friend. I do not have the money right now. Either you waive off my rent, or you make it a revenue share, or for the months that I'm shut, if you just have to have the rent, I'll pay it over a period of 24 months. So 2 months rent, I'll break it down to 24 months and I'll pay little every month, right? You can say that as well. But you obviously can't give money that you don't have. And I think if you effectively communicate that, then I think any reasonable man will come forward and understand. Any reasonable man, organization, person will understand.
Absolutely. And so just your thoughts, you see the high street and neighborhood real estate rentals coming down immediately in the near future?
I think that this is the time high street will open first. Malls will open last, unfortunately. And if you just keep the faith, do what we've spoken about in the first part of the session, your business will bounce back. And as far as rent going down, rent coming up, honestly, that doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. We're all sitting in existing stores. We're talking about renegotiating your rents with your landlords. Let 1 month go after you open, see whether your sales has come down, and then go back and talk about it right now. Right now, see, the landlord also has to see that only if he really sees your pain will he be willing to do something. If he sees this as something that you're taking advantage of and you're being opportunistic, then he's going to be opportunistic as well. So this has to be faith on both sides. We have to establish trust, faith on both sides, because don't forget that for your landlord also, there's a loss of income, right? And it's his right as well. So if you're going to ask somebody to reduce the amount of money he makes, you have to have a valid reason and you have to have facts. So don't look like you're taking advantage of the situation. Be patient, speak to your landlord. If your sale really comes down, then go up to him, show me your numbers, and say, listen, I can't cut it. Right? What do we do? I don't think anybody's looking at expanding. So if you're saying that will rents come down for people to expand stores, I would say don't expand. Don't even ask me that question. Right now, survive, okay? And then we'll talk about thriving. First, I think we all need to survive. So I think you need to conserve your cash, and then we'll talk about thriving.
So there's, in fact, one, I think a survey that Retail Association of India has done, and which is with all its members. We have about 18,000 members. And in that, it's come out that about 20% of retailers might end up shutting shop because of the COVID crisis. So that's an important, I would say that's an important number, because 25% is a large part of the industry. And if the survey says so, then that's hope. I think it's a reflection of the mindset of a small entrepreneur who's there in retail. So in this context, sir, what would be your financial advice to entrepreneurs who are in retail sector? How do they manage their money? What should they do? How do they handle their bank? What would be your financial advice to them?
First and foremost, don't give up hope. It's not the end of the world, right? We will survive. We will move on to the next stage. Conserve cash. Reduce the number of people you work with. If you have 25 brands in your stores, make it 10 brands, make it 8 brands, make it 15 brands, make it 13 brands. Reduce the number of retailers, reduce the number of brands you work with. Increase your collaboration with them, because the closer your relationship, the larger your business relationship happens with the brand, right? The more faith and trust there is on both sides. Both of you are more invested on it, because right now you need support. You need support from both sides. So conserve cash and reduce your width. Reduce your variety a little bit. Go back and look at your product category and say, okay, these product categories I don't need. The contribution is very low. I can let go of it. If I let go of 2% of my consumers, it's fine. If I let go of 6% of my consumers, it's fine. But it'll save me a lot of space. It'll save me investment. It'll reduce my dead stock. Do you have categories like that? Clean up shop. This is the time for you to go back and see the places where inefficiency has crept into your store. Make your business more efficient. Make your rotation improve. Reduce your dead stock. Reduce your number of days stock. Improve your throughput in your stores and work on that. It's very important for you to work on that, because be ready for a reduction in consumption and accordingly realign your business, redo your business plan.
Sure. So basically conserve cash, reduce unnecessary efforts and relationships to narrow down to something that you can manage.
And narrow down your categories as well.
Narrow down categories as well. So this is the financial advice that we get. We have an interesting question from Prithvish. I think Prithvish runs franchisee of Raymond's, Pepe and Levi's. And what he asks is, sir, we have already ordered for autumn winter season. Do you think we should cancel or reduce the order for high priced brands? Do you think the sale percentage will come down in the coming festival season? What's your thoughts on that?
So sale percentage will come down, and all these brands that you told me, Raymond's, Levi's, and what's the other brand?
Raymond's, Levi's, and Pepe.
Pepe. These are all good brands, and they're all national brands. I'm sure those brands have also gone back to the drawing board to work on their reduction. So communicate to them. In my opinion, take your business plan, reduce your business plan by 25%, okay, and rework your numbers, okay. And I don't think premium products will not stop selling. I don't think Levi's will ever stop selling. I don't think Pepe will ever stop selling. I don't think Raymond's will ever stop selling. So don't worry about that. Don't change your brand. Don't change your segment. Not necessary for you to do that. But reduce your buy. Yes, you should reduce your buy so that you're not stuck with stock that you cannot pay for. Reduce your buy. Reduce your buy based on reduction of business plan.
So you do see a reduction in offtake during the Diwali season this year?
Definitely. No, not during Diwali, but I'm saying we'll lose 2 months as it is. April and May are gone. June, you'll be staggered. So I'm saying out of 12 months in a year, 2.5 months are already gone. There'll be some amount of SS20 stock that you will carry forward. And like I said, I don't want you to go on USS. All of us are trying not to go on USS. So if 2.5 months stock is reduced, is excess in your system, then you have to reduce 2.5 months consumption in your buy. So go back and see if you're selling X amount per month into 12 months, reduce 2.5 months worth of buy from that. Speak to your brands immediately, communicate and do it immediately. I'm sure they'll understand.
Absolutely. I think it's basically we are all staring at a 9 months of sale during this year, whereas we have 12 months of cost. So that's the situation.
Correct.
That's how we can balance it.
Correct.
The other interesting question that comes, I think, from Mohammed Muzammil is that he is in the wedding category apparel, right? So he feels that with COVID, weddings are going to be subdued. And how do you see the sales of wedding apparel, in the coming times?
I don't think wedding apparel sale will come down. Maybe the halls will reduce. Maybe the number of invites to a wedding will reduce. But I'll give you a small example. Now, there's a wedding in your family. Who invests on wedding apparel in your family? Only your dear and near, the bride, groom, and the dear and near. Now, even if you keep the wedding inside your house, they are going to invest on this clothing. So, in my opinion, in the wedding business, the persons who will get least hit will be wedding apparel people. The people who will get most hit, unfortunately, are large hotels, caterers, because where you're doing 1,000 people wedding, you'll probably do a 300 people wedding, But the people who are going to come to your wedding and buy apparel for your wedding are anyway going to come. They are dear and near. Guests who do not invest on new apparel for your wedding, okay, you will reduce that size of, so you will actually end up spending lesser money. And I think they'll have more money to spend on fancy apparel. So actually, have hope. I think wedding apparel budgets will go up.
Okay. So occasion wear will go up in terms of.
Yes, because you will not spend on 8,000 people coming, right?
Correct.
So you'll have more money to spend.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So where you're buying a 20,000 rupee sherwani, you might say, I'll buy a 40,000 rupee sherwani.
Absolutely.
Where you buy a 40,000 rupee Kanjivaram sari, you'll probably say, I'll buy 1 lakh rupee Kanjivaram sari. Because you're not feeding 300 other people.
Absolutely. I think so. The budgets will get allocated to where they can spend. Apparel is one area.
I think it's logical. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But I feel logically that's what will happen. If there was a wedding in my family, that's probably what I'll do.
Understood.
I'll spend more money on memories, on a good photographer, right? For people who want to log on to my wedding, I'll send them a Zoom invite and I'll spend money on a nice Zoom technology software for people to view the wedding. But all that budget comes from where? The budget will come from the fact that 600 people are not getting fed and clothed, fed and accommodated. All that money will make a beautiful experience so that it's
memorable,
captured forever.
Absolutely. Good way to look at it. So we have a question from Anand. Not our Anand, of course, of Exclusive. There's another Anand here among attendees. How do we give staff salaries during lockdown? I presume most of them have paid for March. Now it's the question of April that we need to pay in May. So
I think it depends on the cash you have, honestly. And depends on the call that you take. How do you give staff? It's going to be very difficult. The whole world is looking at it. Yesterday, I was in a webinar with the BJP national president. What is it, BJP? What is it, gentleman? Bala, the person?
Mr. Muralidhar Rao.
Mr. Muralidhar Rao, what is his post?
He's the General Secretary.
General Secretary on the national scale. And everybody across all industries is approaching the government for a wage subsidy and stuff like that. So, considering that the government is not able to come in, I think you should give some percentage. It depends on how much you can afford. But I think you should give some subsistence wage to your people if you're not able to pay the entire salary. I think that some amount you can give, depend on your cash flow.
So there's a question, there's a practical answer that Sai Sudeep Ravichandran needs. I am a retailer. Due to lockdown, my stocks are getting dusted and faded. Any protective measures I can take for stocks?
So I've replied to him. First of all, I hope you have insurance. One. Second is, on the day that you're going to open your store, please go in a little early, maybe 6 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the night, or 3 o'clock in the morning, and clean up your store and ensure, because I don't think any of your stores are, any of your apparel is destroyed lying in the store. All of our stores have adequate safety measures. Go clean up your store and, like I said, improve your display so that when the consumer comes back, you give him more and more reasons to consume. So one is, of course, safety and hygiene, which you have to establish. Second is aid consumption. Improve the romance of retail.
So there's a question from Arpan. who asks that in respect of smaller stores, which also provide services, provide products and services like stitching and all that, what would be your specific suggestion?
I'm saying re-establish a contact with your consumer, speak to him, let him know you're available, use platforms like Exclusive or whatever the other platforms you have. Let him know what your new arrivals are. Let him know that you're back in business and you're ready to serve him, and that you put all your social distancing norms and you put all the hygiene and safety norms, and it'll be great to have him back. Communicate with him and invite him back to your store. You're a small store. In my opinion, right now, it's an advantage being a small store because they'll open first. Take that advantage and run with it. Run as fast as you can, because large stores opening is going to take a little longer. In the meanwhile, people are sitting in their homes, right? They want to come out. When they come out, what? They're going to stand on the road or what? They're going to consume, right? You've all gone and bought enough groceries and stood in line, right? Now you want to consume. You either want to buy some ice cream, or you want to buy some apparel, or you want to get your glasses fixed, or you want to go buy some jewelry, but you want to consume, right? Whatever be your budget, but you will consume. You will consume. Make it consumption ready. Make all your stores consumption ready. Invite your consumers. Make it a lovely environment, and I'm sure consumption will come back.
There's a question. The name is not visible, but he asks that due to this COVID crisis, will there be change in the way the industry operates? Will there be change in the payment cycle, credit terms, and all that? What is your feeling?
I think that brand to brand, you'll have to work it out, your individual relationships, right? What happens here is, remember one thing, that everybody needs to get paid for the system to start moving, right? If you don't pay your suppliers don't pay their suppliers, the system will stop. So I don't know about that. It's your personal relationships. But yeah, everybody needs to get paid. Like you need to get paid. Everybody needs to get paid.
So there's a question from Sanjit. So he's asking, so once lockdown is open, should we, in order to increase the sale, should we actually offer discount or offers so that we can increase the consumption of the sale?
I think most brands will already have offers. Like Basics, for instance, we already have an offer running on all our MBOs. Actually, I don't think you need to give any offers. Don't forget that a large part of the competition is going to be shut. The large stores are going to be shut. So I think for the first couple of days, you don't need to give offers. Don't get very nervous. Don't get very anxious. Start business, see where it goes, and then decide. Don't get all worked up.
There's a question from Mr. Ashok. So he says, how do we sanitize return garments? So this might be in my domain, so I can probably answer this, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
So Ashok, you do have detergents which are specifically germ-free detergents available in the market. They kill almost up to 99% of germs, and also they would the practice is to wash it with hot water. But I would advise that pick a laundry or a dry cleaner nearby, have a tie-up with him. Maybe that's a good way to support neighborhood laundry and dry cleaner as well, and tell him to use a germ-free detergent and probably get it done and repack with them. Yeah, that would be a good way to look at it. There's a question from Prithvish to Anand. Anand, this question is for you. He asks, do you have any plan at Exclusive to use community e-commerce system in your application? What community e-commerce system means?
So we are just exploring
all the retailers collaborating and getting together.
We are just exploring some certain options right now. So we plan to do omni-channel with third-party e-commerce sites, right, and introduce them to our clients to use them. So this is something coming in the next week to 10 days time.
Sure. So, Suhail sir, there's a question. We spoke to. Okay, there's a question for from Rajesh. Can we integrate Exclusive with Busy software?
I don't know what Busy is.
So Busy is a billing solution. I mean, they are from Delhi. So yes, we do have an integration with Busy right now. Talk to any of our sales or support executive. We'll be able to do the integration with Busy.
So Anand, if you can, quickly type on your computer and screen share your number, email ID, and your sales and support executives' contact details across North, South, East, West. I think that will help the audience. So many of them actually are interested and want to understand how, exclusive can help them tide over these times?
Sure. So I've got my number and my email ID typed in. So one of the questions, I think one more question which is just came up was on the feedback thing.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess going forward, I think I've already explained, going forward, it's very important to understand after every customer visit, right? What has been the experience at the store level? Was he happy with the hygiene or something which he was not happy? Maybe we missed it. We thought everything was right, but maybe the customer found out something which was not good at the store. Maybe he felt a little bit awkward, right? So if you give him a way to explain, to kind of vent it out to you, saying that, you know what, one of your sales guy was not wearing the mask. You took it off. He was not wearing it, right? So you might not notice it, but the customer might have noticed it. So if you push for the feedback right after the purchase, right? The purchase is over. The customer's got the bill. Right now, you are asking this for his phone number so that you can push the bill to him on his phone. And right after the bill, there's a link which says, hey, kindly leave your feedback on this link, right? So when he clicks on the link, you can actually, the exclusive system lets you to ask certain questions or change questions as per your industry. You can customize the questions. So you can, as for the hygiene factor, the customer can rate it 1 to 5. And when nobody rates it as 1, obviously it's a bad rating. And you can take a call. You can either speak to the customer, find out what happened, and come back to the store and kind of change what went wrong.
Sure. So, Elsa, there's a question to you from Ajay. Ajay Rajkumar asks, does the in-fashion change after COVID-19, like matching a mask with the shirt and all that, is there going to be a new normal? Or
Yes, I think that we're seeing a new trend and we're all working on it. I think the mask is going to become a fashion accessory as well. And it's here to stay. I think, for example, now I think a lot more people will wear masks more easily in a place like Delhi and, where there's air pollution as well. So I think the mask as a fashion accessory has arrived.
Okay. Got it.
And you will see all brands bring out masks.
Any other trends you foresee, sir, apart from the masks, in terms of there can be antimicrobial garments or something like that?
I think that, by and large, in my opinion, the larger movement will be towards mask and hygiene and, wear that completely sealed clothing and all that. Antimicrobial and stuff like that, I don't think that it's going to be a large trend. I think the mask is going to be the single largest trend that will emerge. And the rest of them will be minor trends that will come and go. I don't think antimicrobial clothing has got anything to do with COVID. I don't think it stops COVID. Don't forget that we've understood that the COVID virus spreads through through your nose, your ears, your eyes, your mouth, your face area. That's where it spreads through, and that a mask should take care of it.
So there's a question from Vinay. So Vinay is in the apparel business, but he is doing business with in the segment of school uniforms. So he's saying that with the schools shut for most of the time and uniform consumption coming down, how do we handle the situation? How do we handle our existing facilities, costs, loans, and stuff like that? So do you think we should diversify?
Schools will have to open. No, schools will open. Maybe they'll open a little late. But schools will open. Just like an apparel business is down by 25% is what I said. I think maybe the uniform business will also come down. Maybe they'll invest. Maybe they'll all invest in their school uniform in September and not in June, as they say. But schools will have to open. It's not going to be like a work from home, study from home. I don't think schools will shut down. So I think you just need to ensure you have enough cash to sustain and see if you have the ability to reduce your overheads in the short term. But your business is not going anywhere. In my opinion, the school business is probably one business that is recession proof.
School and hospitals.
Schools and even hospitals, actually, if you look at it, hospitals are empty, right? Hospitals are empty because people are not going for any treatment right now because COVID is getting priority. But schools, even if they teach the kids on a computer, schools are charging school fees, right? And uh, I think that worst case scenario, people might make their kids wear the school uniform and sit in front of a computer at home. But I don't think the uniform business is going anywhere else.
Absolutely.
I don't think it's going anywhere. So
That's
nothing to
clear.
worry.
So I think you are in a unique niche. You just have to stick it out and probably.
Yeah, and also don't forget, I hope you're working on your masks, because all the schools will want masks along with their school uniforms. All the kids will be required to wear masks. And masks will be very important for schools. But
they want it in the same school color dress.
Yes, school color dress. And then while you're doing masks, I hope you're working on sanitization, like hand sanitizers and stuff like that, because there will be requirement for all schools to keep that. Because children, kids are not very. Kids take longer to. I mean, they'll need a little more policing. So I think there's opportunity for you there. So maybe the business that you lose on one side, you can gain on the other side with your hand sanitizers and other sanitization equipment that you can supply schools.
Okay. Sure. So there's a question from Sundar Murthy. He says he needs a clarification regarding lockdown period, because category of essential services, non-essential services, how does it look like? When do we open or something? So this is a question I think we have to ask the government. But your thoughts are when you think we'll most likely open up?
So see, I think Trivandrum has opened up today for business. So the lockdown is easing, and it'll happen stage by stage. Today, stores in Trivandrum have opened. So I think that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Keep your hopes up, and don't get despaired. Don't be in despair. Don't get anxious. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Stay strong.
So you're saying basically the old adage that the bend in the road is not the end of the road. So just stay strong and keep going. So that we all have to keep moving as retailers. So we're just waiting for the last few questions. We'll end it with the next couple of questions. We have a question here, which I can't see the name, but he's asking, is there any technology available for digital trials, especially women's wear, for sizing and fitting?
So I think one thing you can try is you can digital trials. No, boss. Actually, I don't think a digital trial is possible. What you can do is you can let the consumer take it and go home, wear it on, and then come back and exchange it. I don't think that a digital trial is possible. I think it's too much software. You'll have to spend money on software. You'll have to spend money on measurement of the body and all that. I think all that is, in my opinion, is too much money, too much investment. Let the consumer take it home and go, and exchange it. So once the consumer takes it home and goes, if they don't like it, as long as they've not removed the tags and the garment is unused, let them come back and exchange it. I don't think we need to go down that road where, digital trial and all that, because if you look at the software metrics of all that and all that, you'll have to invest a lot of money on hardware. And right now, all of us want to conserve cash. So I don't think it makes sense.
So there's a question from, Sanjit. He asked, Mr. Suhail, how do I make my brand visible? Can you give me some branding tips? A quick 1 or 2 tips for him.
Quickly, digital, social media. At a time like this, work on great visuals, work on great social media, digital mediums, do an online site, do a catalog site, work with a few MBOs, work with exclusive, right? Quickly.
So, okay, there's somebody who wants to check on a question with, Anand. Anand, can we connect with customers through WhatsApp or through the exclusive platform? Is that possible?
Yeah, we do have an API integration with WhatsApp, but that is majorly for transactions. So you can send your feedbacks, you can send your e-bill copies and all that through WhatsApp, right? So this is something which is we already have API integration. But for this, the major challenge is the business Facebook page needs to be whitelisted, right? For big retailers, it's a little bit easier, but for small retailers, getting their own Facebook page listed, there's a lot of criteria. So, and WhatsApp has got a very strict adherence to it. I mean, this is the only block which they have. If they can get their WhatsApp page, the Facebook page to be whitelisted, then WhatsApp communication is possible. Yeah.
The business manager ID has to be verified by.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
So I think, so these are a few tips we have to anyway evolve. You can start the process. Maybe it will take some time, but you can definitely get in there. So there's a question, last question from, Prithvish Biswas. He says, Anand, I'm from Calcutta. Can you please ask your team to get in touch and provide some sample way to keep in touch with our customers? If you have any template or messages, please to send us. So Prithvish is really interested. If you can note down his contact and connect with him, that would be great.
Sure.
So wonderful. I think you've been a great audience. You've had a lot of questions, and thanks to you guys for hanging out there for 1.5 hours. Thank you, Suhail sir, for giving your time, being a part of it, and addressing.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, apparel and fashion community at large. I think they would have definitely benefited from your experience. Thank you so much, and thank you, Anand, for organizing this. Thanks, Vinay, for doing the technology bit.
Thank you, Anand. Thank you, Vinay. Thanks, Bala.
I'll
see you.
Wish you all a great day ahead. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.